Broshius, in the previous decade, Garrett Broshius played in the San Francisco Giants chain, making it all the way up to AAA as a pretty decent pitcher. He since a St. Louis native has used his University of Missouri law degree to really fight for some rights of minor league baseball players, and it is not well known, but the discrepancy between major league and minor league baseball players is just, kings and paupers. And so, it's not uncommon for an affiliated minor leaguer to make $1,100 a month. It's not that unlikely for an independent minor leaguer to make $600 a month, or even in the Pecos League, less than that. And the one guy that's trying to change that is Garrett Broshius. I would point out that this has come to my attention because of a recent article in the Washington Post about a lobbying effort for Major League Baseball to keep the salaries low. And it had been going through, and they were trying to tack it on to a bill here this week. And this goes totally against what Garrett Broshius has been trying to fight for a couple of years. So, Garrett Broshius, it's nice of you to join me here today from your St. Louis office. And I guess first question I want to ask you is, what's the latest on the lobbying effort of Major League Baseball? Forgive me, I don't know the number of the bill that was going through. I had heard that Mitch McConnell was trying to get it passed, this sort of thing. But where do we stand right now in the legislation and the lobbying effort of Major League Baseball to keep baseball salaries in the minors status quo?
Yes, so where it stands now is MLB has succeeded in paying lots of money to lobbyists. The figures show that they paid around $1.3 million each of the past 2 years to lobbyists in order to try to get a bill passed. And it's an exemption from your standard minimum wage laws, the same laws that Walmart, McDonald's, and everybody else has to comply with. And so currently, the Congress is debating and will soon likely pass a spending bill to keep the government running. And instead of MLB seeking to have this exemption as part of a standalone bill, where it would go through a hearing process and a committee process the way normal legislation would happen, they have instead had congressmen tack this exemption onto a spending bill. So even though this has nothing to do with spending at all, they've attached this onto a spending bill that has to be passed in order to keep the government running.
Now, the latest I heard from Mike DeBonis from yesterday was he's the writer that for the Washington Post. We had him on Tuesday or on Tri-City Sports Now, Garrett Broshius, was that he didn't think it was going to pass. He didn't think that if they tacked that onto the spending bill, it would get the approval, perhaps because of the negative publicity that you and some other people have been able to attract to it. But is that where it stands right now? I had heard that yesterday around noon they were going to, go yay or nay. I mean, is this still on the table, or is there still a chance that this could pass?
Yes, there's actually a much better chance that it will pass now. They have unveiled a bill that is, they're saying, their final bill, and so they're trying to rush it through Congress before the end of tomorrow now. And so it's going to be much harder to get that out of the bill now. And to be clear, what this is it's an exemption from your standard wage laws. And so, you have billionaire owners that have flexed their political capital and spent a lot of money in order to get a special exemption that no other industry has. And then on the other side, you have minor league players that, like you said, have salaries at $1,100 per month. And they only get those salaries during the season. So right now, you have thousands of minor league players in spring training, and they're working 7 days a week, working 50-plus hours per week, and they aren't being paid for that work at all because the salaries only begin once the season starts. And so, what other industry in this country would still expect their workers to perform required work a month or more and then not pay them at all for it? And so that's the status quo that MLB is trying to preserve. They're trying to preserve their ability to not only pay low wages, but to also pay no wages at all.
Well, what I don't even understand is, I don't even understand the idea of the host family. that so often, I mean, it's not even that. It's the fans of, let's say, the Johnson City Cardinals or something. How's our players? And that often is just a, really awkward situation. I don't know, Garrett Broshius, if you were playing with the Giants, if you were ever with a host family, but you might have, different, you're looking at different cultures. Let's say you're from St. Louis and, you're out and you played for the San Francisco Giants. I don't know, you're put up by hippies or, whatever. I mean, it's just a different culture than what a lot of people are used to, different religion and all this. And, I lived with a host family once while doing minor league baseball, and it was a difficult thing. You were always being judged, your character, by the host family. I mean, and even if you weren't doing anything wrong, I mean, if you stayed up late or something, you were in that environment. And what other industry asks you to do that? It's ridiculous at times, I think. Anyway, Garrett Broshius, I want to thank you. I know that, let me ask you this. How did this all come about? I know that this law, it affects seasonal employment entertainers. So theoretically, not only ball players, but let's say the sword swallower at the circus, does not have to be paid minimum wage. How did this all come about back in the 30s for this law to pass?
Yeah, so in this law dates back to 1938. So what was going on then is it was the New Deal era. So we were in the Great Depression, and salaries were deflated, and there was a lot of excess labor in the labor pool. And so to establish a minimum that all employers had to pay, they passed the Fair Labor Standards Act. And over time, there have been a few exemptions, mostly outdated exemptions that were added. But nothing like this at all, where we're talking about a narrow group of workers that are being singled out simply because Major League Baseball owners want special treatment. It's completely unfair. And going back to the host family point, yes, I did have host families several years, both while in San Jose and while in other cities too. And yeah, those people I still stay in touch with several of them today, and they are terrific people, and they were wonderful for taking me in. And I've been to Johnson City, and there's some great people in Johnson City too that are host families, and players are very grateful for having that situation. But why do we set up a system where players have to use host families to begin with? We're asking people that are employees of a Major League Baseball team to live with people in a community because they're being paid so low that they can't afford an apartment. It just doesn't make sense at all.
No, it doesn't.
It's a $10 billion industry.
Yeah. And, you look at things that are going on, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Talking to Garrett Broshius, a St. Louis-based attorney here, I've got a minute and a half left in this segment, but I want to ask, there are some critics of this plan, baseball, is saying, well, if we don't do this, we don't continue to underpay the players, we won't have an Appalachian League, we won't have a New York Penn League. What do you say to those critics?
It's the sky is falling, it's false. Baseball needs these different levels because they're signing 16-year-olds from the Dominican Republic, they're signing 18-year-olds from the United States. And so they need these lower levels in the minor leagues. They need the upper levels in the minor leagues also to allow the talent to develop. You can't draft a 16-year-old from the Dominican and expect them to step right into the big leagues. So you need these various levels. And at the end of the day, we aren't talking about that much money. We're just talking about the same laws that Walmart and McDonald's have to comply with. Whenever you have an industry like Major League Baseball that has $10 billion in revenue and exponential revenue growth, they can certainly afford to comply with those laws. They won't be cutting levels for that reason. That's just an argument they're trying to make just so they can try to get this special exemption.
Well, I've always said that, if you were, even if that's true, then perhaps the Tri-Cities could get, say, a AA franchise and be that much more cosmopolitan. Now, I've got 20 seconds until a hard break. I know you said you can stay with me until 11:35. Can you still do that?
Unfortunately, I have to go.
You do have to go? Okay.
I appreciate you having me on.
No problem.
I thank you a bunch. I know you guys have some great baseball fans there.
We'll talk later then, Garrett Broshius.
All right, thank you.
J-Race Heating